Time to take three cuts on Georgia high school baseball. I'm Cory McCartney, along with PBR Georgia scouting director Phil Kerber. Phil, good to have you in as always.
Glad to be back.
Now, Phil, I know there were plenty of draft eligible players that made a big impression on you this past weekend, but let's start with a name that I know lots of people are hearing on the baseball and football circuit that could hear his name called in this summer's MLB draft.
Yeah, Bubba Chandler. I mean, I've been waiting 2 years to get out and see him. It lost last season, and then start hearing reports he added 30 pounds of muscle to his frame. He switches from Georgia to Clemson in his commitment. And for a first impression, I think he did it right. The very first pitch of the game takes it over the left field fence for a home run. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that to walk up to a field and see that. And the very first inning, hops on the mound, 94-97. It's like, holy cow, there's a ton of athleticism there. You could tell he's a leader too on the field and on the team. There were a number, I think there were two pop flies in the infield where normally one of the infielders grabbing that, he's running over there, calling the infielder off, saying, "That's mine. I got this. Let's go." And, there's a crowd of probably 30 to 35 scouts there watching him and Thad Ector for Stars Mill. Before the game, I thought it was awesome that he was looking back at the crowd and just kind of grinning from ear to ear, like, all these guys are here to watch me pitch, and like, let's do this. I'm ready to go. I love the spotlight. I thought that was just an awesome thing to see, and you just tell the competitive nature. And then as far as the game went, the command was a bit of an issue. He was 94-97 in the first, settled into 90-94. When he needed to, he would bear down and get the outs. There was a couple situations where he had guys on second or third or bases loaded with one out, and strikeout, end the inning. I think he did it twice at the game. So you could tell just a high level competitor and a lot to like there. It'll be interesting to see what happens, because I think it'll be tough to get him from that Clemson football commitment, but who knows what happens over the next couple months.
Yeah, hard to get away from Dabo Sweeney, that's for sure, even if MLB teams come calling on draft day. Now, a big weekend for class of 2022s. I know I obviously got a up-close look at LSU-bound Jared Jones hitting 815 feet worth of home runs, but this was not the only guy that stood out to you.
No, also Luke Fernandez is one of my favorite arms in the state. I mean, it's a guy who I was lucky enough to see as a freshman when I was covering Florida, and then we had him on our future games team over the summer. Was fantastic there, commits to Oklahoma State. And I was on the other side of Lake Point, watched some games. I told the guys to tell me when Fernandez is pitching. I get the text and I sprint. Like, I'm in a dead sprint to the other side. Like, this is a guy that I need to see, that everybody should go see, really. And he comes out 90-92 in the first, makes easy work of it. In the second, he's touching 93, 94, and he's putting the fastball underneath the hands of right-handed hitters, like virtually an impossible pitch to hit. And then he's throwing slider, curveball, changeup, everything for strikes. And this is against North Paulding, who's a very talented team. I mean, you've seen them play. That's a deep team. They've got arms, they've got bats. And he was just cruising through them, and goes complete game, 15 strikeouts, just dominant performance from him.
What about your impressions of Jared Jones? I mean, obviously, going against Logan McGuire, a guy that's going to Georgia Tech, and he was up to the task.
Yeah, I think that, there were two things that stood out. One, going against Logan McGuire, who's an advanced arm in the 21 class. But two, the bombs that he hit were on two strike pitches. First one was 3-2, and he took a dead center right over the batter's eye. The next one was 0-2, and he hit that one even further than the first one. And, just for him to stay in those at-bats after getting down and then to barrel a pitch up, which, those should be pitches that Logan McGuire, those are strikeout pitches there for him, a guy of his capabilities. And, Jones made him pay for, two pitches. And that's the type of thing that you got to keep watching for the next year, because if you can keep doing that against high-level pitching, man, it's who knows what will happen when that draft rolls around with that power.
Yeah, his coach Amos told me, I mean, that's been the biggest growth with him, is watching his ability to, to adjust in and at bat, down two strikes, and just some serious composure from a kid that's just a junior. Now, for your final cut, give me some 2023s and 24s that made some noise this past weekend.
Yeah, it's always good to see Mississippi State commit Dylan Cupp out of Cedartown. I mean, just an advanced defensive shortstop. He's the way he's sprouted up, he's really grown vertically, and he's so lanky and athletic that defensively, there's nothing getting by him. He's got great range, more than enough arm. And what has really come along recently is the bat. He's starting to drive pitches gap to gap. He's hitting leadoff for Cedartown. And he is the biggest weapon on the team. So he isn't seeing many pitches to hit. So I think that's kind of an adjustment for 2023 to be pitched around and then to, have the patience to be able to hit a pitch that he likes. I think he's making that adjustment, and it's just going to take some time before he gets more and more comfortable in that situation. But, one of the top shortstops in the country. And then there's Chase Meyer from Cherokee, a guy that we heard touched 92 over the summer. Well, it's comes out GDC 87-90 with ridiculous spin rates. He's 2,700 plus on the fastball, and then this big sweeping curveball that's 2,900 spin, and it's super impressive 2023 arm that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And those spin rates and the way he can locate, that's going to be, one of those bright arms that we have a close eye on. And finally, 2024 out of Sandy Creek, Paul Green, younger brother of Georgia commit Glenn Green, who's 2021. Paul got that same type of frame as Glenn. Glenn's a long, lean, athletic guy. Paul's kind of looks like a baby deer now, but you can tell that he's going to grow into that frame, and it's going to be something special, I think. It was 85, 87 on the mound, 2024. That's really, really good. He's throwing strikes, only threw 2 breaking balls. The first one slipped out of his hand, and then he just went back to it one more time, but didn't really need it very much with that fastball, the way he was getting into the zone.
Well, be sure you're following Phil on Twitter at Phil Kerber PBR and PBR Georgia while you're at it. Phil, thanks as always, and enjoy the baseball week.
Thanks for having me on, Cory.